Shalom, Hebrews. This is Israel being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Okay, Hebrews. Everybody wants to ride in the Israelite car. Everybody wants to have the Israelite title. And it's been going on for a long time. And you even have Hebrews, men that's letting non-Israelites drive the Israelite car. Now this crazy. But as we waking up and we getting good history and good information, then we can sort some of this madness out. You know, we Israelites ain't finna just keep letting everybody claim our heritage with no proof. You know, that's like the Israelite Brotherhood gonna investigate and see what's going on. As I've been doing, and you Hebrews see the history that the Israelite Brotherhood and uncovered for the Israelite community, and that history don't line up with this history that the people claim as Israelites. You know, our history don't line up with them, you know, so it's something going on. And our history line up with the Tanakh. Yes, the Israelite Brotherhood history line up with the Tanakh, but the Israelites, the camps that's letting everybody into the Israelite car, some of them even letting non-Israelites drive the car. You know how that their history don't line up with the Tanakh, and everybody can't be an Israelite. You know, it's like everybody trying to get in the Israelite car. You know, it's two cars. You know, you got a non-Israelite car that everybody's in that claim an Israelite heritage, and then you got a real Israelite car. It's small, you know what I'm saying, but it's real Hebrews in here, and our history line up with the Tanakh, and we can show that we Israelites, you know, from the Tanakh history to now. You know, I didn't even prove in the transatlantic slave trade that we was called Grammentians, whereas our enemies want you to think that we was some of everybody. You know, some of them Israelite tribes was probably caught by a lot of different African tribes and then sold, you know, to the Europeans from that point, and then they was categorized as being from them tribes. But I'm here to tell you, everybody can't ride in the Israelite car. You know, everybody can't get in the Israelite car. You know, it's like in this car, you know, there's non-Israelites, you know, you got fakes. You know, everybody in this car, and this the car that the camp's in. You know, the camp's in this car that everybody in. You know, everybody just claiming the Israelite heritage, and they just accept everybody. That's like some of them camps, you know, they got a Christian doctrine because they teach Christianity under the disguise of the Hebrew Israelite identity. They using our ethnic group to push Christianity, and those are the Hebrews that believe in the New Testament. You know, they got everybody in their car, and look who driving their car. Look who driving their car. Mr. Unclean driving their car. You know, in this car, you know, you got unclean people that ain't Israelites driving this car. And what I mean by unclean is that these people can't pass the Israelite test on proving that they're Israelites. You know, because a lot of these people that claim an Israelite heritage, they heritage come off false history. You know, a 10 lost tribes doctrine. You know, that's how everybody in this car, in the 10 lost tribe, you know, with the 10 lost tribe doctrine, everybody in this car, in that car ain't finna take you nowhere. You know what I'm saying? That car finna go in circles. It's gonna have flats. It's gonna break down, and it's probably gonna burn up. But this car over here is small. You know what I'm saying? And it's a few Israelites in it. But we the real Hebrews. We the genuines. You know what I'm saying? We the originals. And how everybody can't be no Israelite. You know what I'm saying? In this car, riding in the car that we ain't accepting air passengers. We ain't accepting hitchhikers. You know what I'm saying? We ain't picking up everybody. Everybody can't ride in this car. You got to meet Tanakh qualifications. You know what I'm saying? That's like in the car that the camps drive in? How about everybody, mix up with their doctrines? They say that the Israelites, during the Assyrian times, left Assyria, the Mesopotamian area, and then how they just went all everywhere, just all over, and then how that they became all these different peoples, and then how those different peoples is represented in a, Israelite, fake car, and how, man, ain't no truth in that, man. And if you go back to Tanakh history, you'll see that the Israelites were still at home after the Assyrian so-called captivity. I got all this history covered in detail. I'm just going over this because, everybody can't ride in the Israelite car. Everybody can't get in the car. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't be no Israelites. And some of these peoples, man, trying to escape happen to pay their dues to us and want to try to claim themselves as Israelites so they don't have to pay their dues to us in life. That's like the Jews. You know what I'm saying? The Sephardi's. And, man, it's a big old plan going on, Hebrews. How about this right here? This dude right here. You know what I'm saying? They say he the face of the black Jews now. He the face of the black Jews. And then it's a dude and he rapping, hooping and hollering. He got on some Russian clothes and some European Jewish attire, and he hopping around singing and stuff. And then how he's supposed to be the image of the black Jews and stuff. Man, this stuff is pure madness. And then you got this other one. Now all these dudes now converted to Judaism. And now look at him. Oh man, this dude is pure mad and crazy. And if any Hebrews listen to anybody like this, or anybody on a level, even if they so-called, they really Israelites from the transatlantic slave trade, but how they not converted to Judaism. If you listen to any of this stuff or follow anything that they got to say, you finna lose your heritage. You finna lose your heritage. These are programmed dudes, and then they riding in the Jewish car. See, they riding in the Jewish car. They ain't in the Israelite car no more. They in the Jewish car. And then they trying to get everybody to get in. They trying to, maybe they kidnapping you and putting you in the car with them. If you listen to these dudes in the garbage that they say, that's like this dude, he's so confused, he don't even know what's going on, and how he try to say that Moses was a Jew and practiced Judaism. That's how you know you should never listen to these dudes. If they identify themselves as a black Jew, you need to get away from them, run from them, because they don't know no truth and they are danger. You see, it's psychological and mental warfare going on now that the Israelites is waking up. The Jews is pulling out all kind of tricks. Now these are people that been the Jews, the Sephardi's and the Ashkenazi. Now these some peoples that been had our heritage since the Babylonian Wars. 588 BC, and how they done developed a whole lot of strategies since then, because they know that the real Israelites is gonna wake up. So man, they done start, letting these type of dudes into their organizations that didn't allow the so-called blacks in it long time ago. You see, and then how did these dudes and join Judaism, and then trying to encourage the Hebrew Israelites to join up with that stuff. And then let's listen to how foolish he is.
Right? And so today, we in the same way that Judaism was this continuous chain from Moses, the prophet Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's been a link from him to now, from rabbi to student, student to rabbi, father to student.
See, this dude is pure mad. You can't listen to no dude like this. You just heard from your own ears how he just said that prophet Moses practiced Judaism. Now you can't find nowhere in the Torah where the Creator told prophet Moses to cause to call his law to get rid of the Canaanite culture, Judaism. You see what I'm saying? So you Hebrews got to watch out. You know, that Jewish car, if you get in the Jewish car, you finna lose your heritage. You finna lose your identity. These dudes, all they trying to do is get some recognition, you know, to as thinking that they somebody now because they in the Jewish car riding with the Jews. So now they supposed to be somebody now. And look, the Jews go get them because they use this as a weapon. You know, if you listen to this dude, man, his name is Henry Abramson. And then this Sephardic Jew is real manipulative. Real manipulative. He been watching my videos and I've been posting on his site. So he just recently come up with this video called The Black Jews. And then he tried, the Abramson Henry dude, he tried to explain how we possibly come into Judaism. Now this is what I want to state, Hebrews, that any Israelite, anybody that call themselves an Israelite that's practicing Judaism is not a real Israelite. Coming from, you know, when they formed Judaism and then it started, you know, to spread, that if any black person, so-called black person practicing that, he probably ain't gonna be a real Israelite. I'm talking about, you know, up to the transatlantic slave trade. That he ain't gonna be no real Israelites, for the simple fact is that the real Israelites broke the covenant in abandoning the whole ideology of worshiping the Creator, and that how we forsook it at 99%, and how we said we didn't want to do nothing with the covenant, and how we went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. We totally abandoned the covenant. So now, if anybody that's in Africa or anywhere else that's been claiming Israelite heritage, then they gonna be false. They ain't gonna be real, because the real Israelites broke the covenant, and then that's what caused the transatlantic slave trade. And we know hundreds of millions of us was taken from Africa. Hundreds of millions of us was taken from Africa. So, you know, that's hundreds of millions of Hebrews that broke the covenant during the Babylonian Wars. So, you know, if you in this car, you know, you see who driving it. Like I said, you know, you see who driving. That's Mr. Onk Onk. You know, if you in this car that everybody is in, then there's chances are that you ain't gonna be no Israelite. And I can prove that everybody that's claiming the Israelite heritage is not an Israelite. That's like the camps. You know, the camps, man, they done included everybody in the Israelite heritage. Me and them folks done included everybody. They done took me and all the native Indians who ain't never been to the promised land. They done took all the natives and then said that they the tribes of Israel. And then these folks ain't come on no slave ships. They ain't come on no slave ships. You know what I'm saying? They ain't get on no slave ships. They ain't fulfill none of the curses. Impossible for an Israelite to have escaped the curses after the covenant was broken. That's why it took 275 years to remove us from Africa. You know, it took a long time, hundreds of years, to remove the Hebrews from Africa, and we all came to this new world with yokes on our, you know what I'm saying, on our necks. You know, and then the things that we have been through, you know, that's like the natives. Man, the natives own casinos, got land, and man, they own casinos, and then they are international lenders now. Man, they own banks, big banks. And then these Native Americans, just about from all the tribes, you know, they got land and casinos. Man, them folks are not Israelites. And then you got the Hispanics. Now, the Hispanics, the Mexicans gonna be a creation of the Sephardic Jews themselves. The Sephardic Jews, the conquistadors that escaped the Catholic Church wrath, Ashkenazi wrath, what I call, because it wasn't nothing but a proxy war, and how that they went over to the Americas and made it with the natives, and then that produced the Hispanic race, and then a lot of the Sephardi Jews passed their genes on to the natives that created the Hispanic race, and then these Israelites are saying that the people that are called natives are Israelites, and then they even got it so confused that they even say that the Israelites left during the Syrian times and then came to the Americas because they got tired of doing their covenant in Assyria. Now we know that the 10 tribes that represented the northern kingdom did not do the covenant. That from Jeroboam on down to the monarch was taken in 722 BC. That did none of them worship the covenant, and that how that they couldn't have went to no Assyria worshiping the covenant when they never worshiped the covenant since Solomon times, and then how that's false history, and then how I can prove that no Israelites was taken to the Americas and so forth during the Syrian times, and how everybody was still home under King Hezekiah and King Josiah. And then how we would all eventually go into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. So, if you in this car that they got everybody in it, man, you ain't gonna be no Israelite, and you ain't finna get no truth. Now, if you a Israelite mixed up in the car that got everybody in it, you ain't got no truth. You ain't got no truth. Because if you had truth, then you would know that them people are not Israelites, just claiming an Israelite heritage. And you got to be truthful. Man, we got to start making a difference, man. We can't keep running around believing in Jewish history and then believing in the myths that keep us from uniting as Israelites for real. And we can't unite with everybody till we get ourselves established. And them people can help by acknowledging us as the Israelites and then acknowledging their true identity. Now that helps. But far as everybody claiming an Israelite heritage, and it's gonna have to come to an end. It's gonna have to come to an end. And the Israelite Brotherhood been investigating everybody that's been claiming an Israelite heritage, and I'm here to tell you that they are all false. That nobody is a Hebrew but the people from the transatlantic slave trade and those who are descended from us. Now, if you are Hispanic and you mix with the transatlantic slave trade descendants since our captivity, then you're Israelite. You got Israelite in you. But if you just a pure Native American and you ain't mixed with none of the transatlantic slave trade descendants, you are not an Israelite. That goes for the Caucasians, that goes for the Chinese, that goes for the Polynesians, that goes for where the Africans mix with us a little bit over here. We're going to have to deal with them. We're going to have to deal with them and sort that out, because we know our father, Abraham did, mix with had a Hamite, a couple of them, Cuthar gonna be a Hamite, and Hacker gonna be a Hamite. So we gonna get to these Africans, and we gonna deal with y'all on the Israelite heritage, those that are not claiming Judaism. But I'm here to tell you that it wasn't no Africans, no Hebrews left in Africa during the transatlantic slave trade, and how it took 275 years to remove us. Now, I say that we was all removed, and that they didn't leave no Hebrews in Africa because they took us from a certain area, from the Sahara. And then I got a video showing that our first derogatory name was Gramentian, and how our history hasn't been wrote, and how I'm like the first one to tell our story of what happened to us, the Israelite Brotherhood, the small car. You know what I'm saying? The real history. And then how about that during the Babylonian Wars, The book of Jeremiah showed us how we went into Africa, tricked into Africa to do their religion, but how that we Israelites were mixed with some of the Hamites. But I believe all those genes in the peoples that we was mixed with, that Almighty Yah had them plucked up too, and that's why come it took 275 years to remove us from Africa. You know what I'm saying? And that how if none of these peoples after the transatlantic slave trade, they can't claim no heritage off us, the people from Africa. After the transatlantic slave trade and then all them ships stopped taking us from here, and then we was isolated, we was broken from Africa, and how that these are Hamites and that they are not Israelites, and that if you find a tribe in Africa that's practicing Judaism, it's gonna come from the Jewish trade routes in Africa, like the Igabus and the Limbas. You know, they gonna come from a Edomite source. You know, the Edomites converted to Judaism and got our heritage too. That Henry Abramson is gonna be a Edomite Jew. He's gonna be an Amorite Edomite Jew. You know, he's gonna be an Amorite Edomite Jew. This Abramson dude that that's talking to these dudes about the black, you know what I'm saying, the black Jews, you know what I'm saying, trying to convince them, you know, this devil right there. Oh man, he's a Amorite Canaanite. You know, he's a Sephardic Jew. His roots come from the Sephardims, and the Sephardims was placed in Samaria in 722 BC. They hate losing their heritage. You know, they got beat up by the Ashkenazi Jews. The Ashkenazi Jews whooped them because they gonna be having a little pigmentation. So it's natural that the Ashkenazi gonna put the foot to them. But how that they been supporting Ashkenazi with that heritage that they got during the Babylonian Wars when we real Israelites ran off. You know, and then how he been, you know, he a slick fox. He a real slick fox, and how he tried to go get them Jews, them black Jews, them Israelites that converted to Judaism, and then try to say, hey, this is the way, and if you want to be claiming the Israelite heritage, that you got to come in under Judaism. Get out of here. We ain't finna never do that. And we real Israelites are standing up, and we gonna unite. And we gonna reject you folks with that evilness, and how we ain't finna never convert to no Judaism. Judaism is not our heritage. And then the Creator say he was giving us a new law, a new heritage. So we ain't finna do none of that mess. We waiting on this country to fall down so we all Hebrews can get together and then form up something new that's gonna be in opposition to the Canaanite culture that these folks practice. You know, Hebrews, there's a lot going on, but these folks trying to get the them so-called black Jews, you know, that's in the Jewish car to promote their Jewishness over to the Israelites that's just waking up, that's confused. They don't know which way to go. Half of them, you know, they don't know nothing about the Israelite Brotherhood, and they're going to be blessed if they run across the Israelite Brotherhood history, because I show you the differences between Israelite history and Jewish history, and that how the Jews are the people that we Israelites abandon our heritage to. You know, that's like these dudes that's doing the Judaism. They don't know. Look, he don't know that we Israelites abandon our heritage to the Babylonian scribes, because if he did, me, ain't nowhere in the world he can go join Judaism, because he'll know that he'll be in violation of a new covenant that's coming up, you know, that the Creator is making with us, and that how he will be doing something wrong if he went and joined Judaism, knowing that we Israelites broke the covenant and abandoned the covenant, and that our heritage can't be expressed through some people that are not Israelites. Yeah, they can fake the funk for a little while and practice the Israelite heritage and deceive the peoples. But soon as the peoples wake up and realize what's going on, that how all that ain't no good. And then that's what these dudes is a part of. They are part of something that's finna have an end. They are part of something that's finna have an end. This is a picture. Man, I encourage every Hebrew to watch Professor Tony Martin, man. You know, if you want to know the people who profited the most from the transatlantic slave trade, he gonna run it down to you and how, they, you know, hated him with a passion because he was a professor and he was up in they institutions and he got this knowledge out and how that they don't like that. And the brother passed away. I say that them folks got their hands on him, and because what he did, man, there is no escaping who was involved in the transatlantic slave trade. He in the car. He would be in this car. If brother Tony Martin was alive, he'll be in this little car where it's just a little few Hebrews, and then how he wouldn't be in this car that everybody is in trying to claim an Israelite heritage. That's like the peoples that's up in England. Me and them folks is crazy to be trying to claim an Israelite heritage, knowing someday that we was going to easily wake up. And then it's like, a lot of the peoples that got Israelite heritage or been claiming the Israelite heritage gonna get it off the Jews from their Jewish trade routes. I think I showed that map and I had that map plenty of times where I showed that the Randanites went everywhere. Everywhere. Wherever these folks went doing trade, and these are the Randonite Jews. These gonna be the Sephardi Jews. Just before they got their mouth tore out by Ashkenazi. But you see them how they all over here. They all over here. Look, the Barber tribes. Look, man, they having a field day in Spain trading. They look, all them lines show that they trade routes. And wherever they done went, they done converted some folks. So you're going to have a whole lot of people claiming the Israelite heritage. Look, way down here in Yemen, man, it's where them Yemenite Jews come from. The John Chronicles, and before, during the Babylonian Wars, when we real Israelites ran into Africa, how them folks got our heritage because we abandoned everything for Egyptian religion. But look here, the Randanites trade routes, and they going to make Jews everywhere. They going to convert a whole lot of people. Man, a whole lot of people, man, they gonna convert. Man, they everywhere doing trade. So they gonna be converting folks. Because Judaism, you can convert people and make them Jews by the conversions and so forth. And then, that's what happened and stuff. So you're gonna have a whole lot of people claiming Israelite heritage. And that's gonna be the car that they gonna be in. The car that got everybody in it. Everybody in it. Now, the real Israelite car just gonna have the transatlantic slave trade descendants and those who are descended from them or those who are mixed in with us. If you done mixed in with us, then we can't do nothing but break you off a little of our Israelite heritage. But if you ain't mixed in with us and you these folks that didn't experience the transatlantic slave trade or the harshness of the slavery in our captivity now, then you ain't no Israelite. You ain't no Israelite. Everybody can't ride in the Israelite car. Everybody can't be no Hebrew because it ain't truthful. That's a lie. And look here, Hebrews. If you go to this how we show that everybody ain't no Israelite is that we're gonna get down in the scriptures. We're gonna see what the Tanakh got to say about this. Now the Tanakh gonna let us know if everybody that's claiming the Israelite heritage is a Hebrew, because we're gonna walk it down. We know that during Exodus, we Hebrews left. We was all together. We was kicked out of Egypt, going in one direction. Going in one direction. We going in one direction. We going towards the promised land. So we all together. So we all together leaving Egypt. You know, the Egyptians, if any Hebrew would have got caught in Egypt after Almighty Yah did what he did to the Egyptians, meaning I for sure the Egyptians would have killed them and they would have perished. So we could assume for sure that no Hebrews was left in Egypt after the Exodus. So now we exiting, going into the promised land at 100%, all the people. So that's understood. Now we still all together doing our judges time, doing prophet Joshua time, all the way through Judges. Nobody took it nowhere. You know what I'm saying? That we still there. Now a Hebrew one here or there could have been roamed off somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I think just a few times where our enemies and then come in and they took a few peoples and stuff, but how that we was mostly at home, you know, doing Judges, first doing Joshua, doing Judges. We was all at home under King under Samuel, Prophet Samuel. We was all at home under King David because he made sure we was at home, and he was kicking the enemy's tail that a Hebrew couldn't afford to have been nowhere else but at home under King David's time. You know what I'm saying? And then how the Hebrews was at home under King Saul's time and under King David time. And like I said, under King David time, that he was kicking the enemy's tail that you couldn't afford to have been nowhere else but home. So we know the Hebrews was at home under King David, and how the Hebrews was at home under King Solomon. You know, and then how all this history of us being home and how no major enemy came in and took us nowhere. Okay, Solomon started sinning and started kicking it with the Egyptians. You know, the kingdom split up. Those who followed Almighty Yah in the southern kingdom, and those who followed the Egyptian religion at 100% in the northern kingdom, and how that they never came off that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to show you some. You Hebrews or something about this ADL and what they call extreme sex within the Hebrew Israelite movement. Oh man, these folks cold, and then they trying to outline us and classify us as being, you know, they gonna put the terrorist title on us next, and we ain't bother nobody. You don't see Hebrews bother nobody in the few little times in the media where they done tried to push an ID, Israelite ID on some peoples that done did some stuff, and then how they try to say that they was Israelites, and then come to find out that they wasn't even associated with no Israelite organization, and that how all transatlantic slave trade descendants are Hebrew Israelites. You know? Alright, check this out. Man, I want to show how the northern kingdom, you know, it wasn't nobody good on the northern kingdom. So, you know, we can understand that some Hebrews might have got taken during the northern kingdom being off the covenant, and I can show that that's in the Tanakh history, and it's called the Assyrian captivity, and how I can show that the Assyrian captivity really ain't been what our enemies been teaching. And I got a video covering that. All right, look, this is the kings of Israel. You know, this is after Solomon. You know, this is after Solomon, and then the kingdom break up. But you see how the tribes of Israel, you know, the northern kingdom tribes, how all the kings, every last one of them was bad, and how there wasn't no covenant practice there. So yes, it's a possibility that some people would get snatched up from the northern kingdom, and I can show that that happened. You know, whenever we got on Egyptian religion or practice our enemies' religion, you know, we did have problems, and people was taken off, but they can be traced, and we can show what happened to them. That's like during Assyrian times, when the three tribes was taken during the Assyrian times. I can show that they made it back home. It's called the satire history of Egypt, when the Assyrians in 697 BC placed the Assyrian kings on the throne, and how that if any Hebrews that would have been taken in 722 BC would have found their way back home during, you know what I'm saying, that period. And I can show how the scriptures even support this and show that it would happen. If you go to Isaiah, this is chapter Isaiah, let me see. It's gonna come to me. Let me see how they come home. All right, this gonna be Isaiah chapter 20. Man, I be having so many scripture verses in my mind that I have to take a second. All right, but you see this right here. All right, this is Isaiah 20. This is gonna be about 711 BC. This is maybe about a good 8 or 9 years before the Assyrians would come back into our lands and then go into Africa and establish, you know, some West Africans on the throne, the Mishwish tribes, the ones from Lower Libya, who the tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh was from, which it would have been impossible to be 10 lost tribes when the tribe of Ephraim did trade with the Assyrians, and they would know their whole way around the Mesopotamia area, you know, especially up here in northern Mesopotamia where Syria was. They would know their whole way around, and I'm gonna show that they did trade. But if you look at Isaiah 20, and then you get, no, this would be Isaiah 19, and then you get to verse 23, and it says, in that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrians shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Elohim of hosts shall bless, saying, blessed be Egypt my people, and Assyria the works of my hands, and Israel mine inheritance. So prophet Isaiah would show that the Israelites would have an association with the Assyrians and the Egyptians, and then their history came to pass during what's called the Setai history, land of Egypt. And then if you go to Hosea 12, you'll see that Ephraim, look, Ephraim feedeth and followeth. Ephraim feedeth on wind and followeth after the east wind. He daily increaseth lies and desolation, and they do make an covenant with the Assyrians, and oil is carried into Egypt. So, you know, the scriptures showing you that we had a relationship with the Assyrians. So we know that it's impossible for the Assyrians to come ahead, took the Hebrews to Assyria, and then they never made it back home, which the Tanakh history showed that they come back home. You know, they would come back home during what's called the Setai period. And then to show you during the Assyrian times that this would have to happen during the time that Assyria existed, that when they did take some Hebrews to help them fight, that they took some Ethiopians and some Egyptians with them, some more pigmented people, so that if any Hebrews would have had got took into some far off lands like up here in Europe and, you know, and Asia and so forth, that them Israelites would have had Ethiopians and Egyptians and pigmented folks with them. That how all these peoples that's claiming the Israelite heritage in these far off lands are non-pigmented peoples. So something ain't right. So you can't ride in this car that got everybody in it, because ain't no truth there. You know what I'm saying? And how about if you go to Isaiah 20, and then you read down to verse 3, and it says, and the Elohim said, like as my servant Isaiah had walked naked and barefoot 3 years for a sign and wonder upon Egypt and upon Ethiopia, so shall the king of Assyria lead away the Egyptian prisoners and the Ethiopian captives, young and old, naked and barefoot, even with their buttocks uncovered, to the shame of Egypt. Now, we know that if any of those Israelites that had got taken during Assyrian times, and I can show that some did get taken during Assyrian times, and then how did we would have had some Egyptians and some Ethiopians with us, and then how it would have been impossible to be taken to the Americas and then not build an identical civilization that we had over here in Africa, over here in the Americas. And I can show in biblical history that we made glass, we had glass windows, we had doors, houses, second story houses, domesticated animals, carts that with wheels that had axles, and we mined stones and everything, and how we would have just had a thriving economy over here in a thriving civilization in the Americas. And how did no Hebrews made it there? Because no Hebrews left during Assyrian times, and that when we was taken to Assyria, that we all made it home during the Satai period. And these would be the Hebrews that the Assyrians would need, because the Assyrians was getting their lights put out by Ashkenazi coming from the Caucasus Mountain and coming from out them caves in Turkey from underground. So, them folks would need some help, the Assyrians, and then they would come get us because they seen how tough we was when we came out of Egypt, and how we put the sword to them Amorite Canaanite tribes. We didn't destroy them, but we whooped them good enough to have taken their land. So if you go to First Chronicles chapter 5, and then you get down to First Chronicles chapter 5 verse 18. This gonna tell you the peoples that the Assyrians took. Look, the sons of Reuben, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, valiant men able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot bow, and skillful in war, were 440,703 that went out to war. Now, as you get over to here to Second Chronicle 5, chapter 5, verse 26, and it says, "And the Elohim of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Hala and Harbor and Har, and into the river goes on unto this day." Now I can show that those Hebrews that was taken there, they made it home. That was in 722 BC, and how that the Assyrians came back to the promised land for help, because the Caucasians, the non-pigmented folks, was tearing Assyria up. Assyria, I got videos explaining how Midas and his daddy Baratuda and all them was kicking it in Assyria, and then how all them folks was kicking it in Assyria, man, before the prophet Jonah come there in 760 BC, and how he tried to tell them folks, the Assyrians, to stop kicking it with them folks and letting them folks up into their nation. You see Scythia right there, and you see Perga and all them folks, them underground cities, you know what I'm saying? That'll be right here, you know what I'm saying, in this area. And then how that we would help Assyria fight them folks. And then the Syrians got their mouth tore out. And then we would all be chased from, Assyria to the promised land, and then off into Africa. And how nobody went, you know what I'm saying, to those parts. And how that everybody come home before the Assyrian Empire was destroyed. And then how those Hebrews that left during Assyrian times didn't worship the covenant and wasn't following the covenant, as I show you that it wasn't nothing but bad kings on the kings of Israel. Bad kings, every last one of them bad, all the way down to the northern kingdom army was taken away. The army was taken away. And then to show you that they didn't take everybody during Assyrian times, is that you got to go to Second Chronicles chapter 30, and this is dealing with King Hezekiah. This is 7 years after the Assyrians caused the troubles, and then how that the Israelites were still at home. Still at home. So this go to show you that the Assyrians only needed the fighters. If you go to 2 Chronicles 30, and we're going to read, was the Hebrews still at home? So if you riding in this car that got everybody in it, man, that ain't good. Because the real Israelites went into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. All the tribes besides the little 1% that was captured during the Babylonian Wars that, was taken to the Mesopotamian area and made it home by the Persians. And I show you what happened to them and how they disappeared real fast. They was knocked off. That how you have to ride in this Israelite Brotherhood car. It ain't that many of us in here, but we got the Tanakh to back us. All right, check this out. Second Chronicles 30 show you that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, and how all these folks just claiming the Israelite heritage can kind of like hang it up. Because I can show that after the Babylonian Wars, that man, all the Hebrews was off the land in Africa doing the Egyptian religion. And then how when those exiles come back, the tribes of Israel was among them, and then how they all vanished by Greek times. All right, this is in 715 BC. And Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters unto Ephraim and Manasseh that they should come to the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel. For the king had taken counsel and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the second month. For they could not keep it at that time because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem, and the thing pleased the king and all the congregation. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel. See, throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel at Jerusalem. For they had not done it of a long time in such sort as it was written. So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, and according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again men unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remain of you that are escaped out of the hands of the kings. Look, you see that S on there? The kings of Assyria. So them Israelites escaped the kings of Assyria, and they could only escape the kings of Assyria long as the Assyrian empire existed. And everybody know that the Assyrians were destroyed by the Babylonians in 612 BC. So, these Hebrews escaped the Assyrians, and then we're going to see who all escaped. Look, be not like your fathers and like your brethren which trespass against the Elohim Yah of their fathers, who therefore gave them up to desolation, as ye see. That's going to be the northern kingdom's army. Tough, and got snatched up. And then the whole northern army, monarch, knocked off. So that's what that was about. That Almighty Yah was getting rid of the leaders and the peoples that helped defend it. The Jeroboam religion that was brung out in 931 BC. He was getting rid of them, the ones that could defend that stuff. All right, so we know that we escaped the Assyrians, and then as you read down, you'll get to verse 11. This is 2 Chronicles chapter 30, verse 11. Nevertheless, the verse of Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun humbled themselves and come to Jerusalem. Also, in Judah, the Elohim said, so look, Manasseh, they gathered themselves, and Asher and Zebulun, they still at home. And then as you read down to verse 18, the multitude of the people, many of Ephraim, Manasseh, Ishkar, and Zebulun had not cleansed themselves, yet they did eat the Passover otherwise that it was written. So, them folks were still there, men, in the promised land. And then look, And all the congregation, this is verse 25, in Judah with the priests and the Levites and all the congregation that come out of Israel, and the strangers that come out of Israel. So look, man, them folks was at home, and then we have to remember that King Hezekiah sent a letter from Beersheba to Dan. So, if he sent the letter from Beersheba to Dan, that's the whole inheritance. And this in 715 BC. So everybody's still at home. Look. So they made so they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel at Jerusalem, for they had not done it of a long time in such sort as it was written. So now let's look and see how far Beersheba is today. Man, so, if you riding in that car that got everybody in it, man, that ain't no good thing. All right, look, you can see, look, from Beersheba, that's Beersheba, all the way, man, to Dan. All the way to Dan. Now, this is on the west side of the Jordan. Now, you see Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh on the east side of the Jordan. They gonna be done had got snatched up by the king of Assyria, they army and stuff. So all them people gonna run back to the other side, as they did happen, as you see that they come to the Passover dinner under King Hezekiah. And then if you get to 2 Chronicles chapter 34, those that wasn't mentioned during King Hezekiah time gonna be mentioned during King Josiah time, and this is his great son. So we know that the Assyrian captivity wasn't all that, and that the Hebrews wasn't all taken nowhere. So all these peoples just claiming the Israelite heritage off that 10 lost tribe doctrine, you're excluded automatically off the top. Look, 34. This is chapter 34. This is King Josiah. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years, and he did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand nor to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after Yah of David his father, and in the 12th year he began to purge Judah in Jerusalem from the high places and groves and the carved images and the molten images, and they break down the altars of Balaam in his presence, and the images that was on high above them he cut down, in the groves and the carved images and the molten images he break in pieces and made dust of them, and stowed it upon the graves of them that had sacrificed to them. And he burnt the bones of the priests upon their altars, and cleansed Judah in Jerusalem. And so did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, Simon, even unto Naphtali, with their mattocks round about. See, so he cleaned the whole Israel up. And when he had done breaking down the altars and groves, and had beaten the graven images into powder, and cut down all the idols throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem. So King Josiah had everybody home, and this was in 640 BC. So, everybody's still at home. All the tribes. So the next event that would take place would be the Babylonian Troubles. And I can show that all the people ran into Africa during the Babylonian Wars, besides that little 1% that was captured, less than 1%. And I can show that the prophet Isaiah say that they will be destroyed as they were. And I have videos, plenty of them, made about how the exiles from Babylon were destroyed. So no Hebrews could be in all these lands everywhere, because from exiting Egypt all the way up to we was driven into Africa, our movements can be documented, and our history is documented. All right, so here's all the people that were running to Africa during the Babylonian Wars. Our next event after the Assyrians, and we know that the Assyrians came and put some people on the throne. You know what I'm saying?
in Egypt, because it's the Mishwish kings. It's called the Satire History of Egypt, and this is in 697 BC. So everybody will be heading towards Africa. Look, and all the people, both small and great. This is 2 Kings 25:26. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldees. The Chaldees ain't nothing but Ashkenazi. That was Ashkenazi. The Scythians made up the Chaldean army, and the Scythians is Ashkenazi. And those Hebrews that went into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion never returned home. Never returned home. And how that when we went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, to live, how Ashkenazi settled in Beth Shean. And Beth Shean called Scythopolis. And how the Sepharvims were Amorites. They was all over the promised land. They was all in Judah and everywhere. We never ran the Amorites out. We never ran the Amorites out. And how the most important segment of them, the Amorites that created capitalism and that was responsible for the Babylonians' God's history, was placed in Samaria. Now they are already Amorites. Now they would have people in distant lands that they would go back and visit and then turn them on to Judaism. And that's how you would have Judaism or people claiming an Israelite heritage in foreign lands, because these peoples, and then they created the trade routes, the Randanites. I just showed you a map how they went all over the world and they was making Jews everywhere. And then how Ashkenazi originally, folks, it is from around here, Germany. They folks is around the Germany way, and how Ashkenazi, after settling in our lands, would go back to Germany and convert their people, and then have Jews all up around these parts, everywhere. Everybody converted. Man, they converted all their peoples. Everybody that they can convert, they converted them. And then how you would have Jews everywhere. Everybody claiming the Israelite heritage. And then we know that around 70 AD, when the Catholic Church, Ashkenazi them had the Sephardics uprooted and chased them across North Africa into Spain, and then how that they would go over to the Americas, and they would make all kind of folks in the Israelites that they made it with them natives and stuff. Everybody, everybody got an Israelite heritage. Everybody is in this car right here. Everybody is in this car. Everybody in this car. And you see who driving it. You see who driving it. Everybody in this car. So, we gonna have to start making some distinctions that hey man, everybody can't claim no Israelite heritage, and we ain't trying to run up behind the Jews to do Judaism like these dudes doing. We ain't trying to do that, because the Creator said this here. This is what Almighty Yah said. So anybody claiming an Israelite old heritage, it is gonna be left with something new, and us real Israelites gonna be developing this, because the Creator know that we abandon our heritage to them Babylonian scribes, and that everybody will get our heritage. And that's why the Creator told Prophet Jeremiah to tell us this as we ran off. Behold, the days come, said the Elohim, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers. See, that's the covenant that he trying to do, that them Jews teaching him to do. See, but the Creator said, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Elohim, that I will put my law in their inward parts, and will write it in their hearts, and I will be their Yah, and they shall be my people, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, know the Elohim, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, said the Elohim, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Now, we know that the old covenant is gone, because we Hebrews broke the covenant during the Babylonian Wars in the book of Jeremiah. And that how we all went into Africa, as I've shown, that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, and that how the Assyrians just took our fighters to help them, and how that they would all come back home. They would all come back home. They would all come back home during the Sattite period. And then how in the book of Jeremiah, this is what we see to go into Africa breaking covenant, and how you know that anybody claiming the Israelite heritage that's not descended from the transatlantic slave trade descendants or them, it is fakes and not real. But that how the real Hebrews abandoned the covenant and went into Africa. And I'm going to show you who we abandoned the covenant to during the Babylonian Wars. Look, so this is us right here saying that we going into Africa meant to do their religion. This is Jeremiah 44, and then you get down to verse 15. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burnt incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelled in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. Now the northern kingdom already destroyed. Already been destroyed since the Syrian times. Now the southern kingdom is getting destroyed. Now the northern kingdom is not mentioned by tribes no more. Ain't no sense mentioning them by tribes no more. It's over with. You know what I'm saying? For them, and how Judah will be our last piece of land, because our enemies was set up in Samaria, and this is where all the enemies is gonna be at. You know what I'm saying? During the Babylonian Wars, which will chase us into Africa. If you go to 2 Kings chapter 17, I turn right to it. Chapter 17, verse 24. And it reads, and the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cuddle, and from Abel, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, and they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. Now we know that Ashkenazi also settled in the promised land, as well as them folks being placed. So it wouldn't be nothing after we run off for some other people to have been claiming our heritage. All praise be you, Almighty Yah, for there's none greater than you. Hey, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood.